mindful. We have two more talks tonight, so I'm going to move on to introducing our next speaker, and that is Ekaterina. She is an artificial intelligence developer turned CEO and of an environmental startup. Previously, she has been running an AI consultancy agency and has had a health tech startup as well, and she is combining data science, machine learning, and business with an enormous passion in fighting climate change. Her startup, Nina Space, is using remote sensing and machine learning to fight global wildfires. She's mentoring at FemGems Club on social impact, hiring, product development, innovation, and more. And if you want to hear more about her story, because she's not been on FemGems podcast yet, now is the moment to do so. And I welcome her on stage. Over to you, Katja. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for the introduction, and thanks for you ladies and gentlemen for being able to attend this event and to be willing to listen to some of us who have been trying and failing a couple of different things, and we're open to sharing our experience. So the beauty about all of the speakers today is that we do have very different backgrounds. At least my background, as you can hear, is quite different from our previous two speakers, but I completely agree with with what they said. So regardless of whether you're doing tech, whether you're opening a deli, whether you're running a restaurant, whether you're, I don't know, making something, building cars, the challenges that we have as entrepreneurs are all the same. And to me personally, this is amazing because I can speak to any other founder, regardless of their area, so that they can give me valid advice that I can apply to my business. Also, for some reason, I was rubbing my eyes just before I started to talk, so now they're crying a little bit because I don't know, maybe I put some cream on my inside of them or not. So don't mind this. It's nothing. I'm not emotional or something. It's just this is what happened. So I want to start by telling you what I think entrepreneurship is and why this is the thing for me. We had already addressed it tonight that starting a business is something that some of us are comfortable doing and some of us are not. And it's important for you to know what is which field you want to play in. So for me, starting a business or being an entrepreneur is one of the most masochistic things that I have done in my life. And it's also the thing that I adore, I love, I live for it, and it's my life. So the way I realized that this is for me is, I always have this voice in my head which is telling me, that's okay, what you're doing is fine, but can you do better? That's not really exciting. I think we can do better. Like, come on, Katja, do it. And as soon as I started businesses, and my first business failed, then I had this consulting agency, which you can never say if it fails or not, because you always have some clients coming in, but then I decided to close it. And now having a second business, it really is about does it really make you happy? And yes, it does make me happy. So for me, it took me about 12 years after I graduated from high school to discover this thing that finally quiets the voice in my head, and it tells it, yeah, we have been in this position that we are now. Thank you very much. Go and bother someone else. Because we always have this, so Cynthia called it the devil, I call it the voice in our head. It's our consciousness or subconsciousness that is telling us all the feelings, as Alex said. It's this thing that is internal to us that tells us whether we have made the right choice or not. Okay, so why masochistic? I don't want to scare you, but it's also being an entrepreneur is a difficult thing to do. Why? One of the reasons is because we were never really taught on how to do it. So my background is I come from mathematics, then computer science, then artificial intelligence. So I'm very logical, very organized. And then no one taught me how to do business. And at some point, I needed to do business. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a completely uncharted territory. This is unpleasant. This is uncomfortable. This I 100% don't know how to do at the moment. So I needed to learn, as we all need to learn. But in this case, the stakes are slightly different than, when we're writing our PhD thesis or when we're being an employee for a company, because at some point, you as a founder or me as a founder, I am the manager of a company. And when we speak about managing companies legally, is that I do have some legal responsibilities towards my company, towards my employees, and towards the government in the country I decided to start business in. And we cannot just escape these responsibilities. So as soon as you decide to start a business and incorporate your business, from you turn from a person who has paid their maybe social security into a person who has paid their social security and holds responsibility over the whole company towards different entities, with which until now we were kind of like, I know they're there, they exist. um, so again, it's difficult or masochistic because sometimes you need to do difficult choices. I did have two co-founders, which last year decided that they really hated working together, and they decided that they're going to leave almost at the same time. But the problem is they decided they're going to leave and they're going to destroy what we've built. So I've passed through very difficult 6 months when I needed to find legal ways on telling bye to one of them and then bye to the second one. We had raised some money, which I returned. And at some point I was thinking, God, that's the end. I mean, it was really my dream. What we do is we are mitigating wildfires because they're very related to climate change, because they help absorb a lot of CO2. So they protect trees, which help absorb a lot of CO2. And I really want to breathe fresh air now. In 10 years from now, 20, 30 years from now, you get my point. And at some point, I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle of a co-founder's problem, and these people are trying to ruin the possibility of a future to the human race I'm trying to give. That's not okay. We need to set aside our egos, which we did not manage to. But it taught me a lot about de-escalating conflicts, for example, which is something that I didn't know a lot before that as well. We also, and then at some point I was thinking like, we cannot raise money again, but it turns out that even during COVID, there's still a lot of money to go around for startups, and especially if you're in the early stages like pre-seed and seed. If you're looking to raising money, now it's a great time, because there are investors who are willing to invest, and there are startups who are willing to ask. So just be one of these companies that asks. Another thing is we did have to let go of a couple of our employees just before the pandemic. And we had one employee coming to me to ask me for an advance payment of their salary for the next month, when I was actually giving him the news that we cannot keep him anymore just because the money did not have the cash flow at this moment. There was a human being to me as a human being. This was a very, very difficult situation I was put in. But since I'm the founder, I needed to take responsibility for this, and I needed to deliver the unpleasant news to the employee. We managed to help him find another job, so he was not without any money during the lockdown. But you would be facing adversity whenever you decide to start a business, and that's okay. Another thing, and I'm not trying to scare you off, I'm just honestly telling you about my entrepreneurial journey, how it feels, because I believe that it's very important to know how it feels. It might feel very unpleasant, it might feel stressful, but it's okay. And it's super important for you to know that other people feel the same way too. So before I jump in telling you the second part of the things I wanted to share is, I also want to tell you why I became a mentor at FemGems. So last year, as I told you, when I was partying with my two co-founders and returning the money that we had really, really, really worked hard to get, I was in a bad place. I was very anxious. Everything was very difficult. I was stressed because of work, because of my startup and my dream. And at some point, I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I needed to ask for help. I was forced to ask for help. And that help came from everywhere, from tons of different places, from people who were very experienced in areas that I had no idea. I need to understand to people who are really good friends of mine. And I realized how important it is to have someone to listen to you, to tell you, it's going to be okay. I've been through that before. So that someone gives you this drive and spark that now you're in part of, now you're in a low part of your journey, but you can overcome it, and you're going to overcome it because you cannot just keep going low and low and low and low. At some point you hit the, the bottom of that spiral, and then you spiral up. So as soon as I realized how important their help was, I decided that I want to help other people. And for me, being part of FemGems is a way to reach out to the people who I would never meet otherwise. And now I'm mentoring some ladies that I would have never been put in contact before. And I'm sure that I'm mentoring the people who really need help right now and not maybe in the future, or I want to discuss a project that we ran 5 years ago that didn't go well. This is all fine, but it's amazing if we can manage to find the people who need the help right now and help them. And sometimes it's just a hug. And you can make people cry by just hugging them. Even though now it's coronavirus, do not hug that much. Just do it like this from a distance. So another thing that I have passed through is a lot of people have called me, not a lot of people, but people who I really cared about have called me bitchy. And this is something that relates to being a woman at work. That sometimes it's difficult to be a woman in a professional setting and in a male-dominated setting. Since I've told you that my background is very technical, I'm very goal-oriented, very organized. Everything goes according to plan, and logic is what drives me professionally. But then at some point I am being called bitchy, and I was called bitchy by my former co-founder. And then I realized that bitchy is okay, because in this case, bitchy was a synonym for, you know what your goals are. You are pushing the team to meet the goals whether there is, when you're in the middle of a big storm in the management of your company, and you make sure that you can meet these goals and that you can meet your financial goals so that you can continue paying your employees who depend on you. And as soon as I realized the hurt that I would hear from knowing that I've been labeled bitchy was gone, because it's, maybe I'm not bitchy, maybe I'm assertive, or I just know that we need to keep strong and push forward. Another thing that is very important is also for you to be open. For example, whenever someone joins my team, I tell them that the most important thing for them that can do is to take care of their health. So if they're sick, or if someone of their loved ones is sick, they do not come to work until they fix this issue within their personal circle, and only then they come to work and they do something. Why? Because, when we're not feeling great, we do not produce great work. So we have to redo it. What's the point of me forcing you to come to work when we know that the quality is not going to be good? It needs to be redone so that the work is going to be done twice, when you can stay at home and take care of what's bothering you. For example, last year when I was having this trouble with my co-founders, I shared it with the team. The team actually fully supported me, and we all cried in one meeting room, which was amazing. I mean, it's amazing to know that when you're honest to people and you tell them, this is the vision, this is the goal, this is where we're going, and they say, okay, let's do it, then you have this unity that you need. So even if you're a solo founder, you're never alone. You have your mentors, you have the people that you can reach out to. Sometimes you're supported by accelerators, or you just know friends who have started businesses and they're one phone call away. You have your employees as well who support you, and your family. With my family, my mom supports me 100%. However, she always asks me, is it not time for you to get a job? I'm just not cut out to be working for someone else. I've tried it multiple times, 6 times to be honest. I was really unhappy all the time, and I decided, okay, this is just not for me, but I really, really gave my best to do it. And now I think it's the end of my talk because I would like to keep it short. Otherwise, you see each of us can continue talking for forever. And I want to encourage you to share some of the difficulties that you ladies have at the moment so that we see whether we or I can help you find a way to overcome them. So if you are willing to become vulnerable and say, hey, this is my problem now, help me solve it, I would love to give it a go. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Katja. I mean, we touched really, really big topics tonight. I didn't expect this, to be honest. And there's so much to talk about, and I'm really, really glad and thankful that this is happening here now.
If no one actually has a question, I'd love to take the offer that Katja actually put on the table. So I'm a solo founder, and I started 3 months ago on my journey. And interestingly, some of the things you said are so powerful, also very, very important, because I think as women, we forget that when we start up, we need to make sure that we protect ourselves legally. So that was a great point. And I hope everyone here took a note of that, because make sure when you set up your organization, do that. I was blessed to have a mentor that actually guided me through that. Always ask is also great. So that's a great point. And I do that now, because in the beginning of the journey, I was like, if I ask, I look stupid. It looks like I'm not able to do something. But honestly, if you don't ask, the possibility of you missing a yes from a counter partner is very high, and you don't want to do that. And the third thing, which I really appreciated, was culture, right? We as women, when we build our organization, we are going to change the way we're going to produce a new culture in the workplace. So that was great. Now comes my question on help. Because I'm building a tech product that tackles the social isolation that has been created by the social media players in the market. And personally, I'm not an expert on the technology side, but what I did manage to do is single-handedly get my first recruit to develop it for me. But I'd love to know, because you've gone through the investor side of the negotiations, and you raised a very good point, which I'm also kind of looking into, which is series pre-seed funding, right? I want to know if you can share some of the best practices or the resources that I could actually look into to get a little bit more direction.
Oh, that's a great question, actually, maybe for all of you. Thanks for asking it. Okay, so when it comes to investors, I've gone through a very amazing training on what you need to say. And I was actually about to write a blog post about it, so I can take your contact and give it to you when it's finished. But basically, you need to have it's more or less of a 10-slide structure that you need to have in your presentation. And you try to fill as much as possible in the gaps in there. So what you need to have is, the first slide is name of your company. And then second slide is, I usually go with the team. So the team is either the second slide or the slide at the second to last. I usually go with the team first because the team is super important. This is what my entrepreneurial journey has taught me. If you don't have a team and if you don't have strong founders, nothing is going to happen. You might have the most amazing idea, the most amazing engineers if you're building a tech product, as you are. But then if they're kind of like a loose link or a loose team, maybe the work is going to get done, maybe it's not going to get done. So I go with the team, and then you have problem, solution, and in the problem you always try to put numbers, but try to make them a little bit more precise, because nowadays I'm a social entrepreneur, and nowadays everyone starts saying, there are that many tons of plastic in the ocean, and this is kind of like their problem, which is, yeah, sure, you're solving a plastics pollution problem, but start to narrow things down. Because if you tell me that there's 8 billion tons of plastic in the ocean, I cannot imagine it, I cannot touch it, I cannot see it. So problem, solution, then you need to have the market. And then you need to have traction. Traction is super, super important. And traction is what has happened that gained you visibility. Do you have media traction? So has someone published an article about you? Do you have clients? Do you have letter of intent? Are you part of acceleration programs? This is very important. And nowadays, since I'm a special kind of entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, money comes more difficult with more difficulty to us. So we really need to show strong traction. And for us, strong traction actually meant MVP and some clients already. So we took some time to get there. But if you don't have it, don't worry about it, but always think about traction. What made you... So traction is what differentiates you between an idea and a business. And then you also need to have, so it's amazing if you can have lessons learned. If you really, so for example, if you're tackling a social problem, why is this solution the best way to tackle the social problem? And you're tackling a social problem, which is social isolation. Why this and not something else? Another thing is, these are the things that pop into my mind, and I know that they don't sum up to 10, but I will give you exactly the structure that you need to follow that makes your presentation really stand out. Another thing that is important for you to do is the P&L analysis, which is what do you expect your profit would be now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 3 years and 5 years from now, and what are your losses, which is how do you lose money? How does money go out of your bank account, which is, salaries, equipment, laptops, and things like this. And the first time you do this, it's going to be really like guessing because it's very difficult. But as soon as you continue working on your business, you can fix these numbers that you have guessed before. So don't worry about this. So it's also very important for you to have researched the competition and know their pricing. So it's important for you to tell the investors, what are your problems? Who is the competition? How much do the competition charge? Who are your clients? And what is the average your clients pay for that service? So for example, if you're thinking about Airbnb, their clients are people who rent apartments, right? So what is the average per night that a person would pay for a hotel? And then you say $80, but then we at Airbnb actually charge 40. So it's like, way great. It's also amazing for you to think, which are the 3 things that would kill my business? Because this really shows that investors that you have thought about it, you are not delusional and you know, okay, I know that this business might fail. And I have really thought hard on which are the risks that are going to make my business fail and how can I overcome that? And sometimes you cannot, like the pandemic, you cannot predict the pandemic would happen and then it killed my business. Well, okay, I'll start a new one. And one book that is really, really good, it's called Angel. And it's written by Jason something, you just have to Google it. So this guy is a Silicon Valley angel investor with a lot of decades of experience under his belt. And he teaches you in this book on how to speak to angel investors. Oh, sorry, he teaches you how to become an angel investor, which me as a startup founder taught me how to speak to angel investors. So this is a really good book. And in there, I got the idea on which are the 3 things that would kill my business. And I always have it as a backup slide. And as soon as you show this to investors, they're like, yeah, you're talking business now. You're not talking about ideas and dreaming big, because dreaming big doesn't make money. And regardless of whether it's a social business or any type of business, you need to make money to survive.
Yeah.
So, again, it's a promise. I'm going to give you the structure of a very successful pitch deck. With the gaps that you're going to be filling in with in the future. You need to do your P&L analysis, which is very difficult to do the first time. Please just guess and then look at it a month after that and see, have I guessed too hard? Maybe these are the same numbers.
I think I did, but it's okay. It was a little bit ambitious. Why not, right? It's the only time. Do it or die. But
The thing is, be ambitious. Be ambitious for yourself, but don't be, sometimes investors push you to imagine the impossible. And it's like, no, these numbers are not going to, this is not going to be a profit in the next 5 years. Let's be realistic. Let's really dream big, but within the realistic realm.
This is a really huge topic, and if you're interested in joining FemGems Club, you could be matched to different people so you can hear different perspectives and insights and experience on it. Thank you so much, Katja. This was really, really insightful, and thank you so much for pointing out these important aspects you did.